Hi, my name is Frank Schaefer, and my parents knew the Bush family quite well. I have handwritten notes from both Presidents Bush thanking me for things I sent them at certain times, and my mother knew Barbara. Dad met with them from time to time. We were involved with the Republican Party in a big way in the 70s and 80s, and I fled the Republican Party sometime later in the early 1990s and began to rethink everything that I thought was true. I changed my mind. I said so. I wrote a memoir called Crazy for God that talked about why I changed my mind, my evangelical background, my fundamentalist past, my right-wing thinking, my kind of blinkered Christian nationalist ideas, my misogyny in my anti-abortion crusade that I prosecuted through making a movie called Whatever Happened to the Human Race with my father and Dr. Sievert Koop. I changed my mind. Why am I mentioning this? Because it is possible to change our minds. For instance, I would love to meet a formerly conservative Texan Republican leader who admits that Texas has been wrong about everything. Texas is still wrong about everything, but there's a weird kind of convergence of cosmic justice being meted out to Texas now that should make somebody sit up and say, my God, we really screwed up. We are wrong about everything. Texas is the oil state. And so because people like the Hunt brothers who were involved in the big oil business, who, by the way, I knew and gave over $100,000 to Dad and me and our ministry when we were making the films, How Should We Then Live and Whatever Happened to the Human Race, then cornered the silver market and had to testify in front of Congress about their corruption. In doing so, another nice little Republican right-wing story. But when I met with the Hunt brothers, they were all about oil in Texas. And the first rumblings of not climate change, but just pollution discussion back in the 70s, they discounted as a liberal conspiracy. Oh, those liberals. In the same way that the liberals were blamed for feminism or the rise of gay rights or whatever else, it was a liberal conspiracy. Well, Texas is burning up. They're registering the hottest temperatures in the United States, not just for a day, but for weeks. And in a weird convergence of facts, the heat wave Texas is enduring has opened the door to taking another thing that conservatives were sure about, and that is open carry guns, guns without permits, guns everywhere, and stand your ground laws that encourage people to shoot first and ask questions second. Why do these two things converge? Because the heat wave is marking a spike in road rage incidents, and where people used to just flip each other off or shake a fist or maybe swing a punch at a gas station when you see somebody pull over, they pull out guns now. Somebody got shot in the back of the head, a woman passenger the other day. Texans are shooting each other over everything. They open fire through closed doors if somebody knocks on the wrong door. Road rage incidents are spiking, and in Texas, it means gunfire because guns keep you safe, right? The NRA meets in Texas when they have a choice of what state to meet in what god-awful backward part of the country to meet in. They head to Texas. Texas and guns, Texas and oil. Well, oil and climate change and what it did to us was not a hoax. It was real. And the scientists who weren't listened to now are sitting back and saying, well, it may be too late to change anything. Texas is burning up. Texas is sustaining temperatures of over 100 degrees again and again and again, everywhere. If you look at the map of the United States and the projections of the heat wave, weirdly, in terms of cosmic justice, Texas, the oil state, the state that had people like the Hunt brothers and the Bushes that was saying that climate change was a left-wing conspiracy somehow, is burning up. And in that state, stupid white men about my age are wandering around armed to the teeth with guns, and they don't shake their fist at each other anymore. They open fire, and their wives get hit, and their children get hit. Two things coming together that might lead someone to do what I did. I was wrong. My ideas did not match reality. If there's a national sickness in America, it is not one that's being pointed out. It's a different sickness. It's that we turn to conspiracy theories when we feel threatened by having to face the fact we might be wrong. And this happens on a lot of fronts. And it's not just a right-wing phenomena. There are wackos like RFK Jr. that peddle conspiracy theories about everywhere. But I'm not counting him because he's like his grandfather, who was a pro-Nazi, anti-Semitic idiot, and the grandson has not fallen far from the tree. He's back doing the same shtick, ranting about Jews and I don't know what all now. He's crazy. But I'm talking about something else. I mean left-wing people who, for instance, don't want to face the fact that maybe worshiping career and at the same time saying they want families, and then delaying starting families into their late 30s and 40s, and then the spike in all kinds of childhood problems that did not show up in such numbers before, from autism to everything else, might have something to do with the fact that maybe biology and truth have to be accommodated, and that you can't just blame corporations or capitalism for all our ills. Maybe sometimes we personally make decisions that don't match facts. No one has to have a family. I have 3 grown children and 5 grandchildren, and I do the childcare for all my grandchildren and have for years. So I'm one of those people that had a family and enjoyed having that family, even though Jeannie and I got pregnant very young. But I never listened to the fact that career defines you. And so we delayed and delayed and delayed, did whatever we had to do, froze eggs, whatever, as if there would be no consequences. So instead of blaming vaccines, maybe we should say, look, maybe back in the 70s, a few of the feminist leaders, and by the way, I'm an ardent pro-woman feminist, but a few of the feminist leaders got it wrong. And that is what they should have been demanding, is that men like me get involved in childcare to give their wives the opportunity to step out and do something. Not that women should imitate the stupidity of men like me and put career first, and then as a kind of an afterthought say, oh, gee, I'm heading into my 40s, let's have kids. And then you just extrapolate that out into the future. So guns in Texas, now road rage incidents turn into murders. Suicides spike. Old white guys like me are killing themselves by thousands across this country with guns. It didn't turn out to make anybody safe. It's a disaster, and that doesn't even include school shootings. The oil business in Texas unleashed a disaster, and now the state is burning up. So let's all admit something, and that is, don't tell anybody because it'll upset everyone left and right. There is something called reality. There is something called biology. There is something called fertility and fertility clocks for men and women. Old sperm isn't as good. And we've unleashed chaos by pretending that we can just ignore facts and truth, ignore the fact that climate change is real, ignore the fact that fertility works best between the ages of about 18 and 28 for men and women in terms of if you want to avoid all sorts of problems. So stop kidding ourselves. You can't have it all. And stop kidding ourselves about what we really need to do when it comes to social justice. And that isn't to tell women to mess with their fertility clocks and tell men to mess with their fertility clocks, but stop judging our value by what we do career-wise or education-wise and say, look, if you want to have kids, take biology and fertility clocks into consideration. These are real things, and there's a reason why the human race has always been this way. This has nothing to do with traditional morality versus a modern point of view. Look, biology is not dictated to by Christianity or Islam or any other religion. It just is there. If you're going to burn the oil and coal, you'll burn up at some point. If you're going to put guns everywhere, sooner or later, road rage turns into murder. If you're going to delay childbearing into your 40s with 50-year-old fathers who finally decide as an afterthought, as a kind of a capstone to their brilliant career, they're going to have a kid, then please study a little bit about why it is that biology itself dictates certain truths to us that can't be messed with unless you want to take a risk. Does that mean everybody has to do things one way? No, but hey, there are facts out there. And I know some people will be pissed off with me for mentioning that fact, that there are facts. But I have a theory, and it's not a conspiracy theory, that a lot of the reason we turn to conspiracy theories about guns, for instance, and how liberals don't want there to be guns on farms or hunters or whatever, and conspiracy theories about left-wing oppression and all the rest of it, or fertility conspiracy theories that somehow vaccines are resulting in this, when really it's a completely different actuarial table to do with the age people are having kids, which is why we're having a lot of spiking in certain problems. Let's just admit there are facts and deal with it. Here's a fact nobody's going to want to hear on the left. The British healthcare system is in chaos. And anybody like Bernie Sanders or whomever who points to it and says, this is what we need in America is an idiot. I was listening to the BBC yesterday, and the average time it's now taking children to get a dental appointment in England on the NHS system, the National Healthcare System, is, wait for it, 18 months. And that includes for a tooth extraction for an abscess. You know, there are better models than single payer, and that is what Switzerland does, where I come from, which is to make subsidized insurance, still have a private healthcare system, but make sure everybody's covered and kids for free and so forth. What I'm trying to say is when facts don't bounce our way, when, for instance, you've been calling for a single payer system, you've got to then face the fact that the British system's in turmoil and literally coming apart, and that they turn the NHS into a kind of a religion in comparison to America, where nobody, according to the British, have healthcare, which of course is not true, and that we've got to come up with a better solution than simply imitating them. Face the facts. Guns don't make you safe. They kill people in road rage incidents and suicides and murders and girlfriends getting shot. And all the stupidity of these conservative Roman Catholics on the Supreme Court putting guns everywhere as if somehow that's the answer to anything. Let's just admit it. The Second Amendment has been misread, and if it hasn't, it's stupid. How about we deal with that? How about we deal with the fact that if everybody's told to delay childbearing until their late 30s and 40s, it's going to have a result that can be measured and is being measured. And there's no use talking about vaccines as if they're the problem, because they're not. Let's tell the truth about Texas. Until people in Texas who believed what I used to believe change their minds and say, we were wrong, it can't be fixed. It's going to keep burning up. People are going to be shot. It's just going to get worse. Facts are real. And I could be wrong about what I'm saying now, but I'm not wrong about this. Facts are real. I could get details of what I've just been saying wrong. Facts are still real. And if somebody like me, with all the high stakes in the world of family and income and everything else, can change their mind about right-wing stupidity that I was part of, people on the left who have gone too far in some direction can also change their minds. People on the right who have gone too far in some direction can also change their minds. Here's an idea. Let's take facts seriously. Let's try to find them. My name is Frank Schaefer.